Hey Bookish Babes, and welcome to day 8 of the 12 Days of Bookmas. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all types of books, primarily fantasy romance, so if that's something you're interested in, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. Today's video is an interesting one because I was asked by my lovely friend Vanessa from Reads with Dr. B to do a holiday baking collab where we read a book, a Christmas book typically, that has a recipe in it, and we bake the recipe. And, you know, so it's reading and baking. And I will say that that's what this started out to be. But then I slowly started to realize that I didn't want to read any Christmas books that happened to have a recipe in it. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to fudge the rules a little bit. I'm going to read Christmas in Coconut Creek. I have a special edition of it. I've been wanting to read it. And I'll bake something with coconut in it and it'll be fine. But then I slowly realized I didn't really want to read this either. I'm not in a contemporary romance mood. So then I was like, what am I going to do? I still want to be in this collab. And then my friends Brittany and Kelsey had their B&K book club read of Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. And they were hating it so beyond much. And I have loved 2 Ashley Herring Blake books that I read that I had to know why this book was so beyond bad. And it is a Christmas book. So I decided to just go off-road and to read that book that does not have a recipe in it and bake a Christmas holiday thing that does not have to go together with the book at all. So we are reading a holiday book and we are baking holiday treats. They do not go together. And I will just tell you right now, they both go horribly wrong. This may be my most unhinged, chaotic vlog yet. So bear with me, buckle in, and let's begin. Hello friends. I'm here for my first update. For this vlog originally, I was going to read Christmas in Coconut Creek, and I was going to make a coconut flavored recipe. However, I freaking hate coconut, if we're being honest. I was not looking forward to this. I was going to be making it just for other people to eat, and that wasn't really in, you know, the spirit of it all. Also, like, I do want to read this, but I'm not in the mood to read this right now, and it's like almost a 500-page romance with no book 2 in sight, so like, I just don't know, you know? And then I was talking to Kelsey and Brittany earlier, and they were hating on a book, and when I found out what book it was, I was like, okay, well, surely I have to read this for myself. And so I could make this into the holiday book. Take something that they're eating during this book and make it. And I think they were making this like pumpkin-y bread thing. So I'm going to go with that. Anyway, it is Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. Now, I've read 2 Ashley Herring Blake books before. I've read Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and that was in my top 10 of 2022. And then I read Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall. And I haven't read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date yet. And I absolutely loved those. It was really good romance. She wrote them really well. It was a fabulous time. So then when I heard that they were hating this so much it was going to be a 1-star, I had the ultimate FOMO and had to go in. And so I started this bad boy. Now, what is it about, might you ask? That is an important thing to mention. It's about these 2 girls, Charlotte and Brighton. And Charlotte and Brighton are both musicians. And they were together. They were childhood best friends to lovers, and they were engaged to be married, had been together for like 5 years before that. And then the day of the wedding, Brighton calls it off with Charlotte. And I'm not going to say more because that's going to spoil it. But Brighton calls it off with Charlotte. And of course, Charlotte's devastated, whatever. She doesn't understand what happened. So then 5 years go by. For some reason, Charlotte and Brighton are not able to spend the holidays with their families. So they go to their friend's house to end up having like a family get together with their friend. And the 2 sisters happen to bring them. And so Charlotte and Brighton are going to have to see each other again after 5 years and spend the holidays together. And so it's their second chance romance. But here's the thing, friends. Why would I want to read a second chance romance about a couple that clearly shouldn't be together if one dumped the other on their wedding day? I have a million problems with this book already, and I'm 30% in. And we are going to take a deep dive, okay? We're going to have a spoilery section probably every update so that I can voice my thoughts into the wind and have them be heard. So I will timestamp that, of course, so that if you actually want to read this book and you don't want my comments, my spoilery commentary, then you don't have to listen to that part and you can still enjoy this. And we will still bake a good at some point within this vlog. With that, let's do my non-spoilery thoughts for 30% in. I feel like this Ashley Herring Blake book is struggling with me because number one thing, I don't give a lick about any of the side characters. I don't care about any of Brighton's friends. I don't care about any of Charlotte's friends. I hardly care about Charlotte and Brighton, if we're being honest. I don't care about any of them. And they spend so much time having them like talk within the book. I just don't care. Second, it's the same voice for both characters, which is fine, but it's a little bit hard to distinguish between which character we're focused on, especially when she does flashbacks in the middle of nowhere, and they're not done very well, to the point where I'm like, oh wait, we're in a flashback. When is this? This was like right before they got married. This was when they were kids. Like, I have to really be actively paying attention because I only have the audiobook, which I also learned that I'm gonna lose the audiobook. My hours for Spotify are gonna be up in time. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But anyway. So yeah, that's going on. There's a lot more that has just been going on behind the scenes within this book. But I also don't like that this audiobook, and even this book in general, is trying to make me be on Brighton's side. And it's like trying to make me feel bad. Because like, part of this is when they like finally see each other for the first time. Like, Charlotte is not giving Brighton the time of day, as she shouldn't. Why would you give anyone that dumped you on the day of your wedding the time of day? And Brighton's getting all upset, and the way that the book is being said and the audio is being said, it's basically like making us be like, why is Charlotte not being compassionate? Why is Charlotte ignoring her? She doesn't deserve this. And I'm like, no, she very much does. And I don't like that you're trying to make me sympathize with someone like that. I don't like this. I don't like this. Okay, so I'm 30% in. It's not a hate read just yet. My friend said, please get to chapter 11 and update me at chapter 16. And so you better believe I'm going to update this vlog when I get there. I don't know, friends. What have I gotten myself into? It's a spoilery section, okay? Spoilery section. Okay. So basically, Charlotte, I already said, Charlotte, Brighton are musicians. And so apparently, if I get it right, what I'm getting is that on their wedding, they literally had like slept together. And then a couple hours later, Brighton dumped her and just never showed up to their wedding, is what I'm getting. But I'm sure I'm going to get more flashbacks soon. So first off, that's messed up as hell. Second, Brighton used to be in this band, apparently this 4-piece band. It was like a rock poppy band. And apparently they were having issues with where they wanted to go next in their musical journey. Like, 2 of them wanted to really go into pop. She wanted to go into rock. I had this friend from the Pop Girls people come over, and she wanted to do a more poppy song, and she had this popular song called like Cherry Vanilla or something, and Brighton didn't like it and got in a big fight with them, and they said, you know, why don't we just cool things over for a few days? And so they took a few days to themselves, and then the other 2 girls said, we voted, you're out of the band, that girl's gonna take your place. And then they released that song Cherry Vanilla, and now they are a lead band. Like, that blew them out of the water. They're like famous and like all the stuff. And so Brighton's already upset with that because it's been months, and she's working at like as a waitress, I think, trying to make ends meet, and she's just struggling. And then we have Charlotte, who's in like this little like she's in like more like a classical-ish-esque band. And so like she's, you know, she's doing what she's doing, but she's also struggling to make rent and all that. And so, you know, Charlotte's family, she's not close to for several different reasons ever since the Brighton thing happened. And Brighton is upset because her parents were invited to go to France on a business trip or something, and so she's not able to go with her family. And so that's how they end up together. But I'm just annoyed because there's this scene where Charlotte and Brighton are sitting at the dinner table, and Charlotte is eating chili, and I guess Brighton is annoyed because she knows that Charlotte doesn't like chili, which she also calls her Lola, by the way, or used to. And so she basically says like, hey, like, do you like chili? And she goes, yeah. And she's like, really? It looks like you're having a hard time swallowing that. And the girl's like, no, I'm swallowing it fine. And she's like, oh, really? Well, how are you loving Manhattan at this time of year? And like, she knows that she doesn't like Manhattan, and Manhattan is where they broke up. And so I'm just like, why are you being such a bitch? And why is this audio trying to make us vote for Brighton? And so she's just antagonizing Charlotte throughout this whole dinner. And then she even says something like Lola, and the girl goes, my name's not Lola, my name's Charlotte. And she's like, oh, Lola could be a really cool nickname for you. And I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? You don't get the right to call her that anymore. And so it's just like things like that where I'm just like, first off, why are we mad that she could have changed within 5 years? I would hope between 25 to 30 that you would grow the hell up and, you know, like change in things, including maybe your taste buds. I just don't know, friends. I just don't know. So that's where we're at currently. I don't really care about anything at the moment. It is what it is, okay? But I've been rambling on for 5,000 years. So we'll get to another good clippity clip of this soon. And then, you know, the baking will come in when the baking comes in. What you are about to see is a very bad baking experiment gone wrong. It could not have gone more south, and sorry for the messy, dirty oven. Okay, friends, you're getting a voiceover of Rainy baking right now because I have to tell you how drastically bad this cookie baking extravaganza went. Like, it didn't go a little bad. It went very bad. And the besties chat got it in real time. So the first thing I was supposed to do was to mix butter, softened butter, and sugar, and something else that I can't remember at the moment. I did not soften the butter enough, so there was no way that bitch was going to get mixed all together. So then I had to nix the whole thing, which you're not going to see that happen, but I did end up having to nix this whole little clip that I just did, and I had to do it all over again, and I don't have any more butter after that. So if I was to mess up again, that would be very bad, okay? So we already were not starting off strong. Did you know you can't mix really well when you only have one hand and you're holding your camera in the other? Then I added an egg to the mix, and that went fine. The next part, there's nothing really to sneeze at here, so we're just going to whiz through to the bad part. Once again, Rainy trying to mix with one freaking hand. Don't know what the heck I'm really doing here. Then I was supposed to do orange zest, which I don't even freaking know how to do, and I didn't learn how to do it correctly until Brittany informed me later. I didn't realize Brittany was a baking wizard, and I should have asked for her help from the beginning, but alas, I did not. And she tried to help me halfway through, but it was too late to salvage. So I was trying to do some orange glaze, which I guess I didn't even say what I'm trying to make at this point. I'm trying to make this recipe that my friend did of these they're white chocolate cranberry cookies with orange glaze and orange zest over the top. Yeah, I'll insert a picture of what they should have looked like when we're done. But that's what I was doing at this point. And so at this step, this is right before everything bad hits the fan. And I mean really hits the fan. Like some of this cookie even gets on my ceiling, and no, I do not show you that part. Right about here is where I learned that you should not trust men about baking at all. I called my husband earlier to ask if we had enough flour for 2.5 cups, and he informed me that we did, when I didn't think that we did. We, alas, only had enough for 1 1/4 cups, and then I spilled some. Oh shit, I don't have flour to waste. Okay. I then proceed to try to just wipe the rest of the flour off of the counter into my cup. So at this point, this is when I've just spiraled. I'm already down an entire cup. These cookies are going to be floopy as hell. So just you wait. It gets even better. This has gone south very fast. I should not be allowed to bake. In case you're wondering of the travesty of what has happened. My husband told me that we had enough for 2.5 cups of flour left. And no, we did not. We had enough for 1.5 cups, and I spilled part of it. So I'm a whole cup short. And then on top of that, I was supposed to combine the flour, the baking soda, and the salt in a separate bowl, and then combine it in here. But because I was distracted by the flour fiasco, I dumped the flour in here. And so, of course, all the wet ingredients were wet. And so flour is spewing everywhere. This is not going well. But at this point, we were just going to keep chugging right along. So I added an entire bowl or cup or thing of white chocolate chips. And you don't watch me cut cranberries, but I did chop some cranberries and put them into the mix. So we are still chug-a-lugging at this point. Well, ignore my sink full of mess. These cookies are about to go on their maiden voyage into the oven. However, they're so loosey-goosey because I'm missing a cup of flour that this is going to go really bad. In the arms of an angel, fly away from here. In case you were wondering, Brittany said, excuse the very dirty oven window, that these could be turned into cookie cakes. So we're going to see what happens. Okay, here we go. Ready? Shoop, shoopity shoop. Hace buena marisnina, then Yahweh, then Yahweh. Oh dear God, poor cookies, who knew? Oh dear God. Guys, this is really bad. This is so bad. Oh, this is so bad. Oh, poor cookies. Poor mother freaking cookies. You didn't stand a chance. Here's the icing, y'all. And I really think this is what's going to make everything better, okay? Here we go. Well, friends, to all my baking friends, and probably just anybody with common sense, which is not me in the baking area, did we know that if you let cookies cool in a tin, you're never going to get them out? They're hard as rocks right now. I could throw this at my enemy, and they might pass out. Well, that's all I was able to get off of the tray. These bitches ain't coming out. I think that's pretty good. I slayed. Well, it's time to try them, right? Oh, yeah. Bet. Yeah, that's bad. That's pretty bad. All right. Hello, friends. You get the queen visiting with me and her beautiful hair. Okay, let's do an update, a chitty chat, if you will. I have read both chapters 11 and 16. I am 60% in, and we are going to buckle in for an adventure with this book. Let's just say I'm really angry at this book. This book is not a good book. I don't understand why I'm supposed to be rooting for two characters to get back together when one freaking left them at the altar. And when we get to the spoiler section, you will understand why I'm so even mad about how that played out. Like, I don't understand why I'm supposed to be rooting for them. I don't understand why the author is trying to make me feel like Charlotte, the one that got left at the altar, is the villain, and that Brighton, the one that left her, is not. Like, I don't understand why we're trying to make me pull at Brighton's heartstrings. I don't give a crap about Brighton, okay? Also, she's been very chatty lately, so you're probably just going to hear her talk a lot while I say stuff. Anyway, I'm just mad in general. I also do not give a crap about these turtle dove events that are happening. They basically, they basically have these turtle dove events happening where it's like matching, like little dates where you match up with someone and you go on like a little date. I don't care about any of those. I don't care about any of the side characters. There's just a lot of like fluff. And then there was this scene that was like really important in the story, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, am I in present or am I in the past? Is it a flashback? Is it not? I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening here. And it was clearly a flashback, but like, it's like you missed one sentence and suddenly you're back 20 years in the past, and like, I can't vibe with that. So it was not a good experience, okay? So I don't really have a lot more to comment on this without going into spoiler territory, so we're just gonna go into the next round of spoilers, okay? Okay. Ready, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. I don't know where I left off with spoilers, so I'm just gonna go with where I think I was. All I know is that Charlotte, they're on one of those two turtle dove dates, and Wes, who is this guy who is in love with Sloane, who is Charlotte's best friend, the one that made her come, is basically like, let's make them jealous. I'll make Sloane jealous. You make Brighton jealous. And I'm like, why do you want to make Brighton jealous? No one gives a shit, okay? Because we don't like Brighton. We don't like Brighton. So then, you know, they're doing that anyway, and then all of a sudden, Brighton is in her bedroom, really upset, looking at photos of them, because they've known each other since they were 12. Remember that? They met when they were 12, dated since they were 18, and they're like almost 30 now. And it's been 5 years since they broke up. And then her best friend, Brighton's best friend, Adele, the one that brought her here, comes in, sees that she's looking at photos on her phone, and says, I knew you guys knew each other. And because they're all trying to set them up, not knowing that they've already been together. And so then they, she's like, tell me the story. And this is chapter 11, right? Where shit goes down. Basically what happened is Brighton didn't feel like she was where she wanted to be in her music career. And she didn't feel very settled in New York. And she didn't know how to tell Charlotte that she wasn't necessarily ready to get married, because she felt like she was following Charlotte's dream and not her own. However, keep this in mind, Brighton is the one that proposed, okay? Brighton is the one that proposed. So anyway, then the morning of, instead of just going in and talking to Charlotte and telling her, hey, I'm having these feelings, she goes in and wakes her up to have sexy time. Yes, I kid you not, to have mother freaking sexy time. Cuddles her, tells her, I don't know how I feel about New York, doesn't really tell her what's bothering her. So how is Charlotte supposed to know that she's not handling the situation well enough? She's not. Brighton gets upset, thinks Charlotte doesn't understand her and doesn't care, cries to her mom, and then packs up her stuff, gets in a car, and just runs away, like, to some other town. And Charlotte is just standing at the altar waiting, and Brighton's mom comes out, and all she says is, honey, and Charlotte knows that she left and abandoned her. And that's the end of their relationship, and they never talk again. I mean, of course, Brighton tries to reach out, but why the hell would you answer someone that did that to you? So the fact that the sexy time alone thing happened, canceled. Canceled. Rat. That's a rat. That's rat tendencies right there, as my sister would say. Why do we say that to each other? I don't actually know. So, you know, we're just weird. But anyway, that was that. Then we keep going. And apparently, you know, in the band that Brighton was kicked out of due to musical differences, that pop band that blew up, they release a new single as they're all sitting in the living room. And it is the song... It was called December Light, and apparently it's the song that Brighton wrote for Charlotte for their wedding that she was walking down the aisle to, and now it's the Katy's hit single, and they don't understand why. So then Charlotte thinks that Brighton sold the song to them, and that it didn't matter at all, and so she runs away into the forest while it's snowing. Okay, my phone just died, so I'm gonna keep going. Then she's in the forest, right? And Brighton runs after her and says, I didn't sell it to them, like, I showed them it one time when we were, like, trying to figure out if we could work on this song together, and I put it in our SoundCloud database together, and then I guess they just decided to use it after I left. Didn't give her any credit, didn't anything. And so then Charlotte's like, well, we should fix this, and Brighton's like, I don't care to fix this, and they're yelling at each other. They share a heated kiss, and then Charlotte pulls back and says that was a mistake, runs back into the house, and decides she's going to get drunk like a skunk for the rest of the night because she doesn't want to be in the same house with these people. So then chapter 16 comes, right? And they're doing a trivia night, and all of a sudden, Charlotte, it goes from like 80 to 100 really quick. Charlotte is like super drunk, like can't even talk, it's slurring her words, like you can't tell what she's saying, and it's clear that she has had too much to drink. So Brighton offers to take her back to her bedroom, right? And so as they get in there and she lays her down, Charlotte basically starts omitting and confessing that she's always been in love with her, she's always going to love her, she misses her so much, you know, yada da da, blah, 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 all of the things. And Brighton decides that that is a coherent enough confession to be like, oh my gosh, I've missed you too, I messed up so bad, I can't wait, we're going to be together again. And I'm just like, Brighton, are you an idiot to think that this woman, who is clearly so beyond out of her mind right now, is actually saying to you, I want to get back together? No, she's letting you know that you hurt her ass because she's drunk. And yeah, maybe she wants to get back together in this moment, but she's not going to want to get back together when she wakes up. And for you to think that is just so beyond borderline crazy to me that I don't get it. Okay, so yeah, that's what's happened. And then after that, they're just back to going to more turtle dove things. And Charlotte and Wes are trying to make their significant people jealous. Brighton's trying to make her jealous. It's a whole thing. And at this point, I'm like, how is this going to end? I know they're going to end up together. And I just have to wonder, what is Brighton going to be able to do to win Charlotte back? But also, why would you just accept this behavior? I do not understand, guys. I don't understand. I don't. So that's where we're at. I have an hour and a half left of audio if I keep listening at the rate that I'm listening to, and I do need to finish this by tomorrow. And I have a long day today. I'm supposed to go to this circus event with my friends. I'm supposed to go to a Secret Santa tonight. I'm supposed to go hang out with my friend tonight. I have a lot of shit to do, so we gotta get reading. All right, friends, we're in the car. Ignore the terrible hair. You know what time it is, as Eloise is singing in the back. Conversations with Rainy on the road. Shh. All right, we're driving to a circus show. It's a long road. We're going to be on it for like 12, 15 minutes. So I figured I'd share my ending thoughts on this book. Here's what I thought of the end of the book, okay? It frustrated me. There were parts of it that I liked, but they were so minuscule, and I was just so frustrated at the book in general that I couldn't go above a 1 star. I think this might be my only 1 star of the year. No. I have had a 0 star. But it's like one of my only 1 stars of the year. It angered me. I'm frustrated. I don't get why this book exists. I'm just mad. Like, one of these characters is just so insufferable. I just think it's not okay. And I hate that everyone eventually is ganging up on Charlotte. Everyone. I'm sorry. I don't like this book. I don't like this book. I do not like this bookity book. It is bad. Okay? It's as bad as the cookies. The cookies are Brighton. The Brighton is the cookies. They are all bad. They're all bad. they're all bad, okay? So we're gonna break into spoilers. And I'm not gonna lie, I need to look over my notes really quick because I boxered all my thoughts to Kelsey, Brittany, and Leandra because I was like, I need to remember why I'm hating this book so much. So I'm gonna look over my notes when I get, I'm gonna look over my notes. We're coming up to a red light. Wow, there's one red light on this whole entire road. And then I will update you. Hello friends, this is a completely different area / angle / place than the last update that I gave you. I was in the car, I told you that I was going to give you notes about the rest of the book for spoiler section, and then I wasn't able to because I had so many notes that I wasn't going to be able to remember them all. So I'm going to be looking at my phone so that I remember what I wanted to say in the spoiler section because we need to close out this vlog and I am beyond mad. So spoiler section coming. I know last time we left off that Brighton had just put Charlotte in her room while she was drunk, and Charlotte does this big confession to her, and Brighton's like, we can be together again. Well, the next day, Brighton gets mad that Charlotte says she can't remember what happened last night, even though Charlotte is clearly perfectly aware of what happened, but she doesn't want to reopen that can of worms with Brighton. So Brighton is pissed. Has no right to be, but whatever. Then, because she told, I guess, Brighton that she doesn't remember and that she's fine, she wants to move past things and just be cordial, she starts asking Brighton about her life and like just wants to be like friends so they can move past this. So then they end up having to have a date in a cabin, I guess, and Brighton says, well, if you're fine, we can stay together in a tiny cabin for 48 hours. And of course Charlotte can't say no, because if she does, then she'll have to admit that she does remember what happened when she was drunk. And so she's like, yeah, fine, we'll stay in a tiny cabin. And I was like, no, I do not want to hear about y'all getting it on like Donkey Kong when you should not be, okay? So then, of course, Brighton, like, starts getting mad at Charlotte and letting her know that they both ruined the relationship and that she never really saw Brighton and it's all her fault and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I'm not here for this. I'm not here for this argument. I'm just not here for it, okay? So then, she gets mad at Charlotte for flirting with Wes and says, you're doing it so that you don't have to feel anything real. And I'm like, why can't she be doing that? She literally got abandoned at the altar by you. Why is she not allowed to disassociate? Like, what? And then literally like within 5 minutes later, Charlotte's like, I'll never be able to forgive you for what you did. And then like 2 minutes later, it doesn't matter because Brighton says something and they start banging. And that was the most cringe, awkward sex chapter that I've ever read. I had to skim through it because I was like, I don't care about this. I don't care about this. Ew, gross, Brighton, ew, 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 ew. And then I did say one comment where one of them went, boobs, they're nice. And the other one said, yeah, I know. And I'm like, wow, that's really a comment. That's really a way to write a cringe scene, I just can say. And then this never went ending. And then I sent a reel to my besties chat saying, I'm a survivor, because I was still listening to it. I feel like I survived a war at this point. And then I thought it was over and we were in the clear. They started banging again, and it was just not a good time, okay? So then Charlotte is now like, we both caused our relationship ruin with me not really seeing you, as Brighton had said. And I'm like, girl, you can have messed up, but she literally just chose to abandon you without saying anything and making sure to bang before she left. I'm sorry, but that negates everything in my eyes. I don't understand. And then I got mad at Sloane, which is Charlotte's best friend, because then she starts going off on Charlotte for hiding the Brighton shit from her and for apparently being a bitch and saying, wow, you've never really opened up, like we're not actually friends and all this stuff. And I'm like, dear God, why are we all so anti-Charlotte? Then, you know, there's the whole incident with the Katie's band and Charlotte and Brighton, like her song that she wrote for Charlotte being used by the Katie's. So then she has to have a confrontation, right? But before she does that, Brighton and Charlotte are kind of basically together again at all of the gatherings and they're whatever. But then Charlotte decides she doesn't want to actually get back together with Brighton because she does it, not because she hasn't forgiven Brighton, because she has, why I don't know, but no, because she knows that Brighton was never happy in New York and that's where she lives currently, and that she's just not going to be happy again, and she doesn't want her to give up her life and her dreams again just for Charlotte. So Charlotte figures that she'll make it easier on Brighton if she just dumps her butt and leaves her. So she dumps Brighton, doesn't really explain why, leaves. And so goes home. So then Brighton goes home, has to deal with the Katie's thing. She finds the Katie's at a band, she sneaks into the back room, and she sees her two old best friends from the band. And she asks them to stop playing her song because they never had permission. So So then the new lead singer, who never really knew her, says, what do you mean? They said that they wrote the song, and they're like, they did not write the song, that was my song. Then the two girls are like complaining and being like, no, like we got permission, da-da-da-da, and they're like, no, they didn't. And so then she's like, oh my gosh, we can't actually be playing this song, like we could get in trouble. And she basically says, I'm gonna sick lawyers on your ass if you don't stop playing the song. So they listen, and they take it off their repertoire, and no one ever really understands because it was like a hit, and that's the end of that. So that was the only part that I actually really appreciated, because I thought that that needed to happen. So I was like, okay, go Brighton, pop off, good job, okay? Yes, Charlotte realizes that like she wants to be with Brighton, and her quartet is breaking up because of like moving and weddings and babies and all these things, and so she decides to like pursue Brighton. So she goes to some concert that Brighton is performing at, because Brighton is finally performing again because of this Katy thing. And she sees Charlotte, and Brighton starts playing My December for her, which is their song. And so then they end up getting back together. And then the epilogue is basically them just living together, them deciding to move to like Nashville or something and not stay in North Carolina or wherever they're staying, New York, and have a relationship together and make music together and all the things. And Charlotte finally starts going to therapy, as she always should have after this fiasco. And that's the end. But honestly, it gets a 1 star because I'm just so freaking mad at this book. I just think it is toxic as AF. They're obviously never going to make it. I don't understand why this was ever a second chance relationship book about these two characters. I'm just pissed, okay? I'm just pissed. So that is my very, very spoilery rant review of this book and why you should not read it. It's not good. Do not pass go. Do not accept $10,000. Don't do any of the things, right? Right. So, with that being said, this is the end of the vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. It was rather unhinged. I had a very bad book, and I had a very bad cookie experience. My friends are still laughing at me. Oh, you'll actually find this funny before I close out the vlog. Last night, Brittany says, making cookies tonight has a whole new meaning. Kelsey, that little shyster, says film a tutorial for Rainy for future reference. Brittany says, step 1, use all flour and recipe. And Kelsey says, well, we already know you have the baking tray for cooling. And then they sent me a picture of her stuff on the tray, looking beautiful as hell. So to that, I say thank you to my two besties that are just quite cruel. You're quite cruel. I'm kidding, but it's fine. All right. Anyway, I'm going to stop blathering on. I will talk to you all in another video at some point in this life. And that's it. Bye.